Welcome to Table Talk 4.5. Today, we're joined by special guests Jesse and Caboose, both of whom are artistic contributors to the program. Check out our YouTube, Instagram, and Reddit, or send us an email with any feedback or topic suggestions. Otherwise, enjoy Table Talk 4.5. All right. Well, I've got a very exciting ombudsman report today, which is to say, I don't have one at all. I have nothing to say for the ombudsman report.
Can you throw in an air horn on the recording?
I can try.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think if you do the Discord soundboard, it shouldn't come through on your.
Audacity shouldn't go into Audacity, but
right.
I want them to have
I'm looking at the waves right
having.
now. I know it's not an Audacity, but I definitely think that our table talk anyway should get much more like radio shock jock.
Mm-hmm. Hey!
Yeah. And we need to have a name like the morning crew with I don't know. We'll work on it.
DJ Spunky.
Yeah.
We really need to workshop this.
Oh,
no, what's
that
what's
familiar voice?
Watch out.
Oh my god. We've been infiltrated.
Introduce yourself.
Oh.
Yeah, explain yourself, stranger.
Well, let's see. Hello, I'm Jesse. I started listening to the podcast and then got really aggressive on making fan art and just wormed my way into the team.
That's about right.
Yeah, she was allowed onto Table Talk after she showed up at my house and threatened me at gunpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Is she one of the motorcyclists? It's been buzzing your place.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She's been scouting it out for months.
Yeah, that was
Hopefully
me.
that means that there will be fewer motorcycles driving by.
No, I've got my team.
Great.
This is all just to entice Jack to have a better audio setup.
Ooh. Actually,
Wow.
Jack's audio setup is very good.
My setup's fine.
Yeah.
It's the environment that's less than ideal.
Uh-huh. Yeah, my dream is that when we all become very rich, and we're not going to all podcast in the same place, we're all going to have separate bunkers, soundproof bunkers that we record in.
Just record in your closet.
I want a Joe Rogan setup.
Like the mobile fortress thing that he rolls around in?
Is that so? And I'll admit, I'm thinking about the older pre-Spotify situation he had, where it's that big desk
That's just got
it's
a
like
ton
a
of trash on it.
huge table with a ton of bullshit that people bring in, and he's got Jamie at one end off camera, and then him and his guest across the table.
Yeah. No, I think after Spotify, because he moved to Texas or wherever from California, and then he, I want to say that he does the podcast out of like this soundproof, like one of those survivalist trailer things that he had been talking about before.
Okay.
I could be way off. I don't know, because I don't think I've seen any since he moved to Spotify.
Survivalist. Does he eat a lot of like rice and queso or whatever?
Yeah, it's all the
All the Jim Baker stuff.
exactly. Yeah. Jack, please put a link to that.
Oh,
Jack, can you go ahead and open the
absolutely.
link document and start putting links in?
The link document is open.
Okay.
Oh, I do want to announce prematurely that we're going to be moving a lot of our stuff to a website. I'm going to figure out today how to make a website for late afternoon gaming. Because we want to do a couple of different things. First, it would be, the link should still go in the podcast description, but it would be cool if we cultivated them all in one spot as well. But really what we want to do is have a page for each session where we can post pictures or GIFs or whatever else that kind of sets the mood for that episode, and probably handouts as well. So you can, it's something for you to scroll through as you listen. So it'll be optimized for mobile, because I imagine that is how most people listen to podcasts. And so if they're going to look at this stuff, they're going to be looking at it on mobile.
Okay, so I couldn't tell if you were joking at first, but you sound serious. So you're talking about like registering a domain and actually making a website?
Correct.
Okay, go for it.
I've got a lot of pictures that are going to be part of this mood board, so we got to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm like serious about this. I think it'll be cool.
Okay. Yeah, I looked into it a while back, of using like Squarespace or whatever. I just, at the time, I didn't feel like the price was worth it. Because I was also trying to make it so that we could get email addresses, like shepherd@lateafternoongaming.com. And I actually, if I recall correctly, that was the thing that made it expensive, was having custom email addresses. Really? So maybe just having the registered domain wouldn't be that bad. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I like the idea that the episode would be kind of it would be like a multimedia, it would be a whole mood. You'd listen to the mystery, and at the same time you can scroll past these images and other little things that really put you in that zone.
It does really up the media requirement for each episode, though.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Great.
Well, I mean, you need to have a lot of media already set up for that, like pictures and stuff, but...
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you're... Because otherwise, if there's 3 things per episode, then it doesn't matter. If there's... Or, that's not enough to justify this whole thing if it's 2 hours long. If you want it to be more immersive, then you need, like... I'm just going to throw out some random number, but you need, like, 15 things to come up. That's a lot of media per episode.
Yes, I see what you're saying, but I don't think it all needs to exist right away. I think over time, as Jesse's like taking more photos, or as we're finding little things we want to link to and stuff like that, we can record a session and post it, and over the course of the next year and a half, we find something and think, oh, that's perfect. That building just looks like the one from session 3. And we throw it in the session 3 thing, and it all gets better over time.
Okay, sure.
So we'll try it, and if it doesn't turn out well, then we'll shut it down.
Then I'm fired.
We could just feed we take the episode, we send it through voice to text, we feed the entire thing to Midjourney, see what it spits out.
What's Midjourney? I haven't heard of that one.
It's a image generating AI.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were having a lot of fun with AI yesterday.
I did see that, yeah.
That's the other fallback, is we can just have AI make a bunch of images for anything we don't want to do ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The AI thing is interesting. I've used ChatGPT a couple times, not for any specific purpose, but so yesterday it was just kind of funny because I was streaming it for you guys, but... it is interesting how good the answers are getting, at least in form. Again, I think sometimes the factual inaccuracies, are present, but I think that the form of the answers do seem very, human, which I think is pretty interesting.
Well,
apart from the constant, as an AI language model, blah, blah, blah.
As an AI language model, I'm not allowed to be helpful.
Yeah. I heard on a podcast, and I don't know if this is true, that AI, more and more, these generative AI programs are making up facts and sometimes making up citations.
Yeah.
And then when you drill down, when you chase that and ask it, hey, where did that come from? Is this real? That kind of thing. It's, the responses are kind of strange. So it's tough to... You can get a response that looks really credible and well-sourced, and then when you pull the string on it, it just falls apart.
Well, so what I'm hearing is that that means it's becoming more human, because humans do that all the time.
Tracks.
I don't know how much of an issue this is now, but go back a month. I was in the early program for the Bing search AI assistant thing. Because you could sign up for it, and they were giving people access over time. And it had a problem for a little bit where you would ask it a question and it would say something that didn't seem right, and you would say, "Hey, I think that's wrong. Could you give me a different answer?" And it would get very defensive. And it would start saying, "No, you're wrong. You are lying. You are assaulting me." And you'd be like, "Bing,
Calm down."
It would accuse you of threatening it.
It's also a human response.
I was going to say, that sounds like a human response to interactions with Jack in particular. So
Yeah, yeah, it was only me. It was weird. But it was actually, they ended up implementing a, like the conversation you were having with the AI last night didn't seem like it had a prompt limit. The Bing one would auto-terminate after a set number of prompts and reset, because the longer it went, the more likely it was to start accusing you of being like a liar and abusing it and being like a terrible person.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty funny. And another thing it would do, you had to, there were a couple of people who were doing like screen recordings, they could catch this, but it would start generating a response, and then it would be some like crazy bullshit that it was spewing, and then suddenly that would go away and they would say, I'm sorry, I can't respond to that question. But you'd get to see the original response just for a second, and then it would get deleted.
yeah.
It was pretty good. I don't think it still does that, but it was very entertaining for the couple of weeks that it was out there.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest change that I've seen over the last like 2 years is whenever you used to use any of these AI things, like, you know, let's say 5 or 6 years ago, it didn't have like memory of previous statements. So every time it would generate an answer, it was based solely on your prompt. That's it. To include things like AI Dungeon, I think, had like barely any memory. So it would be, you know, it would be basically DMing some role-playing game for you, but it couldn't remember what it told you, 10 seconds ago, which, you know, leads to some pretty kooky stories. And you can just assert anything in those games, and it's just like, oh, okay, I guess that's what's happening now, and it'll just it's very yes and, I'll say. But like from the one I did yesterday, like if I would try to change tack suddenly, it would think that I was still talking about whatever I had been previously talking about, unless I said something like, let's change the subject.
So if anything, it kind of has the opposite problem now.
Yeah, so for example, I pivoted. I did like a hard right turn at one point yesterday where I had said something about, hey, what should we talk about on our podcast tomorrow? And then I asked some question about something unrelated while we were going back and forth about the podcast. And then it said something about, oh, something, if you talk about that on your podcast, that might be a little weird or something like that. And then I had some prompt that said, no, that was a non sequitur. That last prompt had nothing to do with podcasting. And then it gave me like an answer independent of my previous set of prompts. So what I mean to say is I think it's actually getting a lot better.
For sure. Yeah.
In a really interesting way. I don't have a lot of AI concerns at the moment. I don't really. I think it's funny and fun. I don't have I know a lot of people are concerned, especially like artists or people like that. I'm not one of those people. And I don't know. I don't see it as a huge deal, honestly.
I know one thing that the Bing AI did that was entertaining. One thing that it would immediately cave on is if you said something about you, it would just be like, yep, that's got to be true. I asked it at one point because I was trying to see if it would like, it's connected to the internet and it knows like I had to be using my account to talk to it. So in theory, it might know my name. So it's like, you know, describe me. What do you think my name is? What do you think I look like? Whatever. And
it just shows a picture of you.
It didn't do that. It basically gave a like, I don't know, you know, why don't you tell me about it? And I told it like, oh, I'm a 80-year-old purple squirrel named Beelzebub. And it was like, wow, that sounds really interesting. Like, tell me more.
That's very progressive of it.
Yeah.
Well, and all of this started yesterday, or a lot of this was inspired yesterday because I finally watched the movie Her, which, who has seen Her here? I know
Not me.
Duncan has.
Raise your hand if you've seen Her.
I've heard good things about it.
Caboose is not. Okay.
I have.
It had been on my radar for a very long time, and I don't remember what inspired me to watch it yesterday, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And this was one of those times where a screen actor did voice acting that like I thought was really good, and it didn't just make me think, maybe they should have just gotten a voice actor to do that, because it was Scarlett Johansson who did the voice of the AI, but I think she did a really good job. And it was
like I was saying yesterday, the most unrealistic part of that movie is how small the phones are.
Yeah, man, oh man, I wish I had a small phone. I missed like the iPhone 6. That was cool. Or no, iPhone 4.
There's a small market for small phones, but I really wish that would take off again.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. It's one of those things where if you talk to people about this, if this comes up in conversation, a lot of people will tell you that they would also like a smaller phone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I was saying the other day. I think it's I think I figured it out. I think they're making them large so that they don't stay in your pocket when you sit down and you put it in front of you on the table.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think there's also no way to vote with your wallet because there just aren't any small phones. It's not like they're making a small option and no one's buying it. They're not making it. So,
yeah. And for a while that wasn't true. Like, you could get an iPhone SE that was... Well, and it's funny because for a while, the small option was just the... they would use, like, the chassis from the phone that was 3 generations ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the leftovers are refurbished or whatever.
Right. But, no, those days are over.
Yeah, well, and to me, I don't know what my phone is getting any more powerful for. For me, so I don't like play games on my phone. I don't do anything like processor intensive. I basically just I use it for the internet, texting, calling. That's basically it.
Porn.
And porn, of course. But all of those things are like, you could do all those things with an iPhone 4. Everything that has happened since then, with like more powerful processors and more cameras, I'm like, it does nothing for me.
When you move up to like VR and AR porn,
well, I'll have my own.
You're going to appreciate that extra power.
Oh, speaking of which, have you guys been looking into the Apple Vision or whatever it's called?
I have only seen pictures, including I've seen pictures, and I know it's $3,500
briefly.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a little.
What do you mean
promo.
briefly? Like it's
just read a few articles and snippets on it, and
oh, I thought you meant maybe it would only briefly be $3,500.
Oh no.
Like it's it's $3,500 for the first 3 months or something, and then they're gonna drop it.
It's a time
like
exclusive.
promo video thing. First of all, I hate all of the like, this person lives in the most sterile environment you could ever imagine, and it just like looks bizarre when someone's sitting on a couch in the middle of a room like flicking their finger to control things.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one shot in the promo where it was like presumably a dad, and his 2 kids are in front of him playing around, and he's sitting there with his like scuba goggles on.
Yeah.
And he leans in so that he can record it, and he's got, he's smiling, he's having a good time, but you gotta wonder, like, I get what they're going for. You can record the memory, and then I'm sure with all the cameras they have, you would be able to relive that really effectively if you had your headset on.
Yeah, but how horrifying.
Yeah, like, what kind of memory is that for those kids? If somebody walks into the room and is like, I'm going to relive this later, everyone act natural while I have this, like, apparatus on my face.
Well, I mean, that's the
It's not
same
gonna
as a VHS, like, camcorder that you used to put it in people's faces in the 90s.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say
Well,
that
here's
it's not
what you guys
like
are
a
missing.
camcorder you can put away. This is literally on your face.
Yeah, and I agree with Jack on that, where, like, yes, I agree that it has a lot of similarities to the camera, but I think with a lot of the stuff that Apple makes, they market it as wearable technology. It's not like it's something that's supposed to be something that you have on all the time, like your AirPods or something.
Oh.
It's not something you take off. Whereas the camera generally would be something that you whip out for some reason, as opposed to, I just always have it with me.
Here's what you guys are missing. In real life, both of the kids would be holding tablets.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they wouldn't even notice
That's
or
what-
care that they're being recorded.
Yeah.
Right, that's what family time is, where everyone is on a different electronic device.
Yeah.
I mean, like, later today, go eat lunch someplace and then just look around Everyone is going to have a phone in front of them. People that are there together, like groups of 2 people that are there eating together, will both be looking at their phones. It's over. Civilization's over.
At work at the moment, we're doing something this coming week and also last week where we can't have our phones on us. We just have to leave them in the car, and then we go in, and the amount of bitching that has happened in that classroom of people going like, oh my, I have to sit here for 5 minutes and I can't look at my phone. And it's a real problem, and not a lot of self-awareness going on that people like can't handle the isolation.
Yeah, there's a one of the buildings where I work, you can't have cell phones because, there's proprietary stuff or whatever. And one of the people that I was talking to recently about that, who used to work in there before moving to where I'm at, he was like, yeah, you got to go all day without your phone. I was like, that sounds awesome. I don't know. That sounds great. He's like, yeah, but it's really boring. I'm like, bring a book. I don't know that I would love to work in a place that straight up didn't allow phones. Because if you're allowed to have your phone, people expect you to have your phone. And then, if you don't contact them, whatever. If you can just tell everybody, hey, I'm not allowed to have my phone where I work. That's great. That's awesome.
Come work with me.
Yeah.
Can't bring it in the building.
I have a lot of that sometimes. And, I mean, it's okay. It's a little annoying only in the sense that, especially if I'm trying to, focus and study, I love being able to, listen to music. And you can't do that, and that drives me bonkers. Especially when you're sitting in this, quiet, silent room trying to type. Ugh, that's the part that kills me.
Buy a record player.
Well, so I almost did, and they told me that I was not allowed. And I said that was bullshit because there's no microphones in it. It's an old record player. I got tons of records. I still got squashed.
Have you thought about suing them?
I thought about just doing it anyways.
Yeah, honestly, that should be fine because, it wouldn't actually violate any policies. So once you bring it in, then they'd have to actually have a reason to kick it out.
Yeah, I've seen people use radios in environments like that. And that's it's usually kosher, but I was going through something similar this weekend. I was out camping, and I had my phone with me. And my phone has one of the nice things about having one of these newer, enormous phones is the camera on it is fantastic. And I don't want to carry another camera. I'm not normally a big picture taker, but I was making an effort to take some pictures this time. But if I'm going to have the phone out, then you're welcome. Then, between that and the normal, checking in with people just to make sure they know where I am. So if I die on one of the trails, they can, find my body and put it in the elaborate tomb that we've been planning.
See, by the way,
I get notifications the whole time. I get interrupted while I'm camping because I don't want to take it offline and go into airplane mode because I am using it for, safety reasons. But the trade is that unless I want to go into each individual app and adjust the notifications, which I guess I could do. I could set up a profile for it. I'm
just put it in do not disturb mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's probably better than what I was doing.
Solution to this problem.
Well, and you can also.
You know what, guys? If you were just gonna jump in with solutions, can't you ever just listen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Duncan, one of the problems with your technique that I've determined is if you don't tell us when we should be expecting these texts or when it's okay to stop receiving them, I won't know if it's a problem whether I'm if I'm not receiving texts.
Well, you're not the one I tell other people that. I don't tell you.
Okay, then why are you sending me the I'm okay signals?
Well, because every time I send you the I'm okay signals, you say something very snarky back. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to explain this to him. I'll share my itinerary with other people who really care.
Oh, okay, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. I'm kind of disappointed in the laydown that we have in the Table Talk material thread here. I'm scrolling through it, and we don't have that much good stuff.
Yeah, I hadn't even looked at it. Well, and again, I didn't have the Ombudsman report, so...
I do. I would like to discuss my Delta Green campaign concept, Dumbers.
Oh, yeah, I did like that one.
So, what I had proposed is, as a lover of the old TV show Numbers, What I want is for someone to run a game where and I want someone else to run it so I can play in it. They run a game where I can solve these mysteries by doing some sort of very easy math.
That's just
I get to
baffling
play-
everyone else in the room.
Yeah, it'll be greght. And so it's all math-based crimes, but it's stuff I can do like addition. Anyway, I thought that would be very
That
exciting.
sounds hilarious.
Imagine a numbers episode where all the math was just based on like racial crime statistics.
Oh my god.
That go over well.
They're just profiling constantly, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Like it's gotta be this guy.
I did like, Duncan, after you said that, you said another idea, a mystery that's extremely obvious and easy, but I make the checks really hard so you can never make progress even though you know what to do. Which was just the summary of this thing that I had made sometime last year, I think, which is just called A Game Night Gone Wrong. Which was about a murder, or a murder that had taken place in a house where a Delta Green handler was just making all these arbitrary checks for the players to do, such that they never even got to start the adventure, because they were just bogged down by all these these burdensome checks to do very simple things, if you're wearing a hazmat suit, then you have to do a dexterity check every time you want to walk. Things like that. Which
So, listeners, for those of you who are not TTRPG system nerds, this is a contentious subject within the community, where there are mystery games like Call of Cthulhu and Delta Green, where in order to obtain clues, you need to make checks in the requisite skills. And then Delta Green kind of depressurizes that by saying if you're not under some kind of stress, just having points in the skill is good enough usually. You don't have to actually make the check. But there is a dedicated system for mysteries called Gumshoe, where the way it works is whatever the minimum number of clues you need to solve the mystery, you'll get those more or less automatically as a result of going to the right places and asking questions. And then you can sort of stretch, whether it's making checks or expending points from a pool to get more or higher fidelity clues. But you're never put in a situation where you as a player know what you need to do, and you roll a die, obviously fail, and the handler tells you, oh, well, I guess you don't notice anything then. Which can be very frustrating.
Yeah. Well, and this is also just a general philosophy of how to run a TTRPG, where are we check heavy or are we not? Because with any of these systems, it's up to the handler or the DM or GM or whatever to determine when we should and shouldn't, no matter what the rule book says. So it's often something that sort of emergent based on gameplay. So if you watch something like Critical Role, they do checks all the time, or they did when I watched them 5 years ago, where every time they could conceivably roll one of the skills, they do. That in a lot of ways introduces arbitrary opportunities for failure, and things that should be very easy. So the way Duncan does it, you very rarely do rolls. So you're only going to fail when it makes sense to fail, in terms of your character doing those checks. The players can fail all the time, but
and they do
for sure.
Yeah. I was listening to the last session, and I noticed that, and I think it's mostly just due to the nature of what our characters have been doing, but how many checks have you rolled so far?
I was thinking about that earlier. I think I've only done 4.
I've done so
total.
many, and I've failed so many.
Oh, and I'm pretty sure I haven't failed anything, because the only time I rolled high was when I did a luck check. Every other time, I think I've done a persuasion check, a search check. It might have only been 3, and a luck check. I think that's it.
Yeah, and Jack, you've had Tim in so many situations now where he's been lying to people or
Trying to dig
doing something stressful that you've just the way we roll it. You've been in situations where you're under some kind of pressure.
No, I was laughing listening to it, where it's like I'm in the burning house getting hurt with the spooky ghost woman, and meanwhile
Simon's at home asleep.
yeah, or like just getting drunk on the job.
Right. And I mean, Tim didn't even get to eat his pizza rolls.
I know, right?
Right. Well,
That's
and
gonna
he's,
come back to bite me.
he's obsessed with a house that is now burned down. I wonder how that's affecting him.
I am interested to see how that plays out.
Right. We're drifting too far into game territory. This is table talk.
That's true. But yeah, no, I was thinking about the exact same thing earlier.
Yeah. I am getting us a small submersible.
Oh, that's good.
It's probably not a great environment to podcast from because I think it would be echoey.
Are you building this in your apartment, or are you outright buying the whole thing?
There are some things I can't make myself, like
a Logitech controller.
Like how?
Right? Yeah,
How much carbon fiber is there going to be?
Well, I think it's going to be cheaper now.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it tracks.
But what my secret is, I'm going to take the carbon fiber and I'm going to seal it with wax.
Oh.
Okay.
So I bought like a big discount pack of candles on Amazon, and I'm melting those down and smearing them over the shell.
Okay, and it'll smell nice. It'll smell like a Midnight Epiphany. That's good.
Yeah, it's unfortunately I had to get a variety scent pack. But yeah, there was all kinds of people were making all kinds of comments about how carbon fiber is unreliable and it's a composite material, and we can't tell after water gets into these microfissures, like we can't predict how it's going to behave under stress and stuff like that. And it just sounded like they were really like being haters.
Yeah. You know what they probably should have used? Flex Seal. Just put Flex Seal on the outside of the carbon fiber, and then you're good to go.
I'll do you one better.
Gorilla Glue.
We're gonna have Flex Seal inside. Like we'll have that ready to go. Mm-hmm. So when I'm driving and a little bit of water squirts in when we're at 8,000 feet.
Just seal it up.
You guys can have a handful of it ready to go.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
So I did watch a video about that the other day, and this guy was talking about like the hiring policy for OceanGate, where apparently, and I haven't verified this myself, but this is just what this one guy was saying. Who I think whoever made this video, he was a retired Navy submariner, but he was saying that they were really trying to avoid having a bunch of retired submariners in their organization, and they were trying to like hire younger talent and more like just fresh out of college engineers, as opposed to having more old timers there, which he said was like, hey, that's fine, like it's good to have young talent make the next generation of all these people, that's great, but you need to have people on the team who have the experience. Like you need to have supervisors there and experts who are like who can point out all these issues you have, like the only way in and out of this thing being the 17 bolts and the hatch. Like there's no way to get out of this thing in the event of an emergency or a fire or whatever the case may be.
That was the thing that really surprised me, was the hatch situation. That it wasn't, I guess the way a lot of the submarine rescue stuff works is, even something like a DSRV, a deep sea, or a deep submergence rescue vehicle, I think it's supposed to mate with a somewhat standardized hatch. The idea is like they'll form a seal around the hull of the vessel over the hatch, and then you can open your hatch and they can get you out. This was a case where there was no, like, even if they were able to get something down to the sub, if it had just bottomed out but had maintained its watertight integrity, they wouldn't have been able to do anything. They wouldn't have been able to open it up and get the people out. They would have had to...
Right, the only way to recover them is to get it back to the surface and then unbolt it.
And then crane it onto the deck of a ship and unbolt the end so that they could all get out. So.
Right, and so that and a number of other, like, just weird little weird things, or like how they came up with the numbers of how deep it could go, and how they never verified half the stuff that they were saying, or
Well,
like
they also
all the
painted
numbers
it
were
white.
theoretical.
Like, why is it white? I get it.
I mean,
looks sleek, but
I don't really care about that. They can
no,
paint
no.
it whatever color they want.
no, you want it to be like orange or bright green or something high visibility, so that if it like surfaces and they can't exit, it's easy to find.
Yeah.
No,
that's
you
true.
wouldn't be able to see him anyways.
If
Trust
it
me.
was,
Even if it's bright orange, you're on the ship and you're searching for something that's relatively small. It's so hard to see. They're screwed.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I still think there's like a high visibility orange that's standard, I believe.
Well,
but
I mean, what you want on it is a strobe.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I did
Yes.
see James Cameron was giving an interview or something.
Ja-
saying-
James Cameron had a pretty based take on it.
Oh, yeah.
I saw it. I didn't actually watch it yet.
And James
He's
Cameron clearly
actually-
knows his shit. Like
Yeah.
the interview I saw with
Yeah.
him, he very clearly articulates like exact. I'll kick it back to Jack. You started this.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to talk so much about what he was saying. He basically did an interview where he said, yeah, the moment that the communication failed, like the sub's electronics apparently failed, the communication system went away, tracking transponder also failed. He was saying on Monday he knew that there was an implosion and they were all dead, and that the days-long search was just prolonging the mental suffering of the families. And okay, fair enough. But then there were a lot of people in like the comments saying, "Oh, another celebrity thinking that he knows what he's. Everybody's a submarine expert all of a sudden," and then other people were going like, "No, James Cameron's like probably one of the most knowledgeable people in the world that's not in the military on submarines.
Yeah.
Like he actually does know what he's talking about."
Yeah.
It doesn't he have
Well,
the
I
record
think-
for deepest dive?
In the
Yes,
interview,
yeah.
I think he was wearing like the the Rolex Deep Sea that he took down into the where did he go?
This
Was
is
it the,
Marianas Trench, wasn't it?
Marianas Trench? Yeah.
It was that, or it was some other like abyssal area. But yeah, it's like this. He even had the swag from one of his storied ocean voyages. Yeah.
Well, didn't he also at one point go to the Titanic?
Oh, he's been several times.
Like, so he's
Well, and of
So-
course, he's one of the reasons why Titanic stuff is so popular, given the movie.
yeah, a small budget indie
A
film.
plus.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
I've never seen it.
What?
either.
What?
I didn't see
Oh my
Avatar
God.
2 either.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't care about Avatar, but you
I
didn't
didn't
see
see Avatar
Titanic?
1.
I
not
saw
my kind
Terminator. That was a good film. We're talking James Cameron movies.
I saw, so they re-released Titanic at the 10-year anniversary and then the 25th anniversary, and I went to the theaters both times. It was delightful.
But you won't watch her. Strange.
See, now that it's 25 years old, I don't know if Leonardo DiCaprio's even willing to associate with it.
I thought his cutoff was like 28.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
That means
I
I'm
do
also too old.
I do the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
mine's
you're-
Mine's 18.
I was going to say, you're half my age minus 7 kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
Oof.
What else do we have in this thread here? We got submarines.
We had this, the romance novel, which I thought was really good.
Yeah.
That one's good stuff. So you've got this picture of this woman in this white dress and a red cape, and looks like it's Christmas.
Right.
And the title is, I've got my Duke to keep me warm. And you're like, this looks like a cheesy Christmas book. Screw this. I don't want anything to do with it.
This
You
looks like a
open it
direct
up,
VHS Beauty and the Beast
right?
sequel.
Yeah.
It does.
Nope, it's not. It's the best. Because they're like convincing this guy that he's insane, getting committed. There's multiple explosions. It goes off the rails in the very best way.
See, I really liked my idea. So, because you just posted the front cover and said, what do you think this is about? So my answer was, Duke is the name of her pet bear that she has developed an unhealthy obsession with following the death of her fiancé. I think that's a great idea for a book. I don't know if that's already been written, but
I mean, probably shifter books and all that kind of stuff is this whole genre that I have not explored, but I'm gonna go ahead and say yes.
Sorry, what is the name of the genre, and can you describe it for me?
So there's a whole type of genre that falls. It's kind of like monster romance or monster erotica, but it's like shifter erotica or romance. And so it could be a regular bear, or it could be a shifter who turns into a bear.
Oh no, yeah, this is just a regular bear.
Just a regular bear, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I could go Patrol Kindle Unlimited. I bet there'd probably be some gems there.
Yeah, probably.
Well, the real story here is, though, she found this at this used bookstore that we went to last weekend.
Doesn't look very used.
I stumbled upon a genuine, like Delta Green, hypergeometric text.
It is pretty great.
It's one of these things. It's this huge book that definitely should be hardcover, but you pick it up and you realize it's like the cheapest binding someone could pay for. It looks very self-published, and I started reading it, and it is insane. I don't want to give away what it is because, number one, I don't think you could find a copy of it. And number two, its contents are going to be featured in future sessions.
Okay.
But it was this kind of thing where every page I would open it up and I would go, "What?" It is hundreds of pages of insane rambling.
Well, I'm going to be integrating a book that I got at an old library sale that I've been meaning to bust out for a while now. It's called ESP, Fact or Fiction.
Did you flip to the end?
Yeah, what's the verdict?
Yeah, well, I flipped to the end and I was like, yep, I knew it. The last page was no surprise to me, so verified fact. ESP.
Did you flip to the end using your mind?
No, ESP is perception. It's not telekinesis, you fool.
I'm not asking a question about ESP.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, no is the answer. I don't have telekinesis yet.
Yeah, I could sense
So,
that.
does this ESP have a range? You have to see the person, like line of sight?
Yeah, it's only about like 3 or 4 feet. It's honestly, it's not that useful.
Okay.
But with training, it should get better.
Yeah, I can sense stuff with things other than my eyes, but only if I can see them.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy. Once I like talk to somebody for a couple days or weeks, I'll start to get some insight on them using my ESP. So it's pretty impressive.
Fascinating.
Oh yes, Caboose is still here.
Well, you can couple that with some tarot readings, and then you'll really have the know of them.
So Duncan and I both got tarot cards a couple years ago, and it's actually really fun doing tarot readings.
It is.
I don't think I could do it with somebody I didn't know, but if you know somebody and you just start like making up a story based on the cards, it's actually pretty funny.
Well, but
I had a great time.
I had $1 million idea that I just haven't had time to implement. But now I kind of need the money, so maybe I will. Which was make an app that's basically a like tarot for engineers app. It's something along the lines of, okay, so your girlfriend got into tarot, and every time this thing comes up, she's saying it means something different. That's bullshit. Here, you can take a picture of the cards with your phone, and it'll tell you, according to a lookup table, exactly what that means.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking you'd make
that's perfect.
You make a Google Vision app where, what you do is you're wearing as the reader, you've got your goggles on, and you can look at the card, and it will have a pop-up of like 3 different things that it could mean. But obviously, the person that is getting read doesn't have that, so apart from you wearing the big goggles, they won't know that you're doing the engineer version.
Yeah, so if you go to a seer or some kind of mystic and you notice they're wearing large goggles while they do your tarot reading, they may not be legit.
Mm-hmm. Right, they may be cheating.
I mean, or you just learn what all the cards mean and then properly do the readings.
And the good thing is, no matter where you look, it'll say something slightly different about what they mean, so it can really mean anything. I kind of rely on that when I do my readings.
Speaking of tarot, I was at a meeting this past week where very high-ranking person in my company recommended that everyone do Myers-Briggs, which is
dude,
roughly as well substantiated as tarot.
Will it ever stop?
It's up there with like astrology.
Oh yeah,
in terms of evidentiary support.
Yeah. So the place I worked before my current workplace, they wanted us to all do a DISC assessment, which is just it's another one of those kinds of things, and it's like I don't remember how many questions, like 150 questions or something like that. And then it gives you this ginormous PDF that's like 60 pages long of this automatically generated like graphs and results and stuff like that. It's a total scam. But I was resistant to taking it at first because I was like, this is stupid, I don't want to. And then I relented eventually and said, fine, I'll take it, whatever. But then we had like this meeting about our DISC results. And people were like, oh yeah, we want to talk about this and how it affects us as managers and all this stuff. And so when I heard that, instead of it just being like this funny thing that I could ignore, that we were actually going to be discussing it, I said, okay, well, I want to look into this a little bit. So I did a little research on the DISC assessment, and was unsurprised to find that, it wasn't very good. But what I did was I took the results from one of my coworkers who had got like a very different ultimate assessment of her like personality or whatever. And then I took all of like the statements it made about her, and then all the statements that mine made about me, and I did a little test to see how well both of these things applied to me, like both of our results did. And the answer was they both applied like exactly the same to me personally, because a lot of the statements it made were Barnum statements, which are statements that like sound kind of like they're specific, but are actually very vague and could apply to almost anybody, much like a horoscope. So you could give this, you could give my set of results to anybody and they would say, oh yeah, that sounds like me for almost everything in it.
Similarly, I have, in an effort to indicate to everyone how silly I think this is, when Myers-Briggs stuff comes up and people ask like, oh yeah, do you know what type you are? And
are you an INTJ?
Be like, yeah, I'm an Aries. We're very headstrong.
So here's going to be, I'm going to go against the grain here. As kind of unscientific as it is, that doesn't make it useless. Like, if you look at a given profession, then, like, engineers, for example, there's a huge weighting. If you give a bunch of people this test, most of them are going to end up being INTJs.
Right.
Now, does that mean that this is the best possible way to evaluate somebody's personality and inclinations? No, obviously not. Their 4-factor model, there's no reason to believe that a 6-factor model wouldn't be better. But there's clearly a signal. It's also a binary. There. Yeah, but there is a signal there. It's not all noise.
No, you're right. But I also think the signal that we're looking at is who people want to be and not who they are.
Still useful.
I don't know. I've taken it a whole bunch of times and I've tried to do like what I want to be, and I still get the same one. So
I do not share that problem. I can be anyone I want to be when I take these personality tests.
You see, when I take it, it turns out I'm, like a misunderstood loner genius, which is,
those are problematic.
Clearly accurate.
I'm like the
dangerous,
handsome,
but using his powers for good.
Handsome tortured artist. That's usually the results I get.
Has anyone been in a workplace environment where management has actually tried to implement like how you treat others differently based on other people's scores, or like
no? I've never been in an environment where we've actually done anything with the results.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and the way that works is, it is, as far as I understand it, it's illegal to use those things in hiring or firing practices, but anything beyond that you can do. So you could have some personality tests that you use to sort people in your office, like, into different departments once you've already hired them, but you can't use it in the hiring process as like a criteria or some sort of factor of whether you hire them.
That's interesting because I actually applied for a job maybe 2 years ago And it was, I applied for a sales position someplace, or I was at least in interviews for it. And one of the things they said was, hey, we want you to take this personality test thing. But the interviewer, this was after my first round of interviews with them, and they had said something along the lines of, you need to be hungry. We're looking for like hunters here. So I took the test very aggressively. Like I'm really going to get after it once I sink my teeth into something, and so
I never
it was, very easy to drive the result towards like, oh my God, this guy's incredibly aggressive.
Yeah. This guy's the alpha male.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the alpha
male.
I am the alpha. Yeah. But
what were you saying, Jesse?
Oh, I was just saying, so the one thing that I've seen that has been interesting and kind of effective is that I've taken it, and then it's about how you manage, and then it also gives you some examples on how you can better manage other people, given your own personality, and how other people might perceive that. And so that piece has been helpful. And so it's not so much about how to bend other people and more so about how to tailor your own approach, which is definitely something that I struggled teaching other people to do. And so it was nice getting to see that of some ideas for how I could do it for myself.
yeah,
No, that's interesting. But hold on. Caboose, you were alluding to workplace implementation of stuff like this. Did that happen when you were?
Absolutely not. And it was like Jesse was saying, maybe, it is up to you to use it for yourself, but I don't know. I've never been like, I guess I've never been very enlightened by like, I guess I felt self-aware before I took a test and equally self-aware afterwards. But yeah, no actual implementation. It's just a check in the box.
Yeah.
Make everyone take the test and tell them what the results.
When it's difficult for me because having transcended the self, I don't actually have a personality type.
Yeah. But to something you were saying earlier, Duncan, I think the biggest problem with most, if not all of these tests is it requires accurate self-assessment across whatever criteria we're describing here. And I think people even taking the test honestly and not trying to say, not trying to fool themselves or the test into thinking that they're better than they are in some, whatever domain. Like, I don't know how well people see themselves a lot of times. And like, so the DISC assessment, as an example, does have this big caveat of like, hey, if this says that you're an intellectual, it doesn't mean that you're smart or an actual intellectual. It's just, that's how you see yourself.
Well, and if you remember, at one point you took a DISC. I don't remember what this is for.
This was the same one.
Okay, where you bounced your answers off of me, and I said, no. It's actually this.
Right. And I was going to bring that up because you are probably the person who knows me best.
Unfortunately.
I know. And so, like, if anyone was going to be able to provide something a little more objective, then it would be you. And so I took the test with you over my shoulder. And so, I mean, even still, I don't know how, accurate it was, but I'm sure it was more accurate or had the potential to be higher accuracy than anyone else's. But, much like the statements on the back end of, like, oh, you're a hard worker. Like, how many people are going to say they're not a hard worker? Some people will, but most people probably won't. Right? Yeah, of course I'm a hard worker. Or, yeah, of course I'm empathetic or whatever. Like, you say something positive, or you ask somebody about whether they have a positive trait, and most people are probably going to say yes, even if it's not true. That's kind of my interpretation of it. I don't think it's a good idea to try to assess those things internally a lot of times, or I think there needs to be some sort of external validation of it in order for it to have any accuracy.
Well, and I'm happy to hear you say that because I have recently laid out a lot of money to send your families and coworkers surveys on your personalities.
That's smart.
Yeah, it's a 360.
Right, exactly.
Well, but it's actually, this is a test of my own design.
Oh, all right.
So it's not just a classic 360 assessment. It also has a lot of astrological content.
Okay, good.
Excellent. Good.
And it's analyzing some other things like your diet and stuff like that. So I'm going to send you all Fitbits that I need you to wear.
With the heart rate monitor that goes around your chest.
Right. And at the end of it, I'm going to know exactly who each of you are.
See, that is something that I thought we should do as a group is we should develop and sell our own personality test because the bar seems really low. And especially if we can specifically design it to allow management to like manipulate the results to say whatever they want to say, I feel like that would be very enticing to a lot of companies and we could make a lot of money doing it.
What you are misunderstanding, I think, is that people actually read these things. Like,
well, it'll have like a 50-page PDF, but it'll have one front page that says
yes,
everything.
Okay, there we go. It's got to have a
about.
good cover sheet.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Or like the top line results with like a fancy graph on it, and then like a one paragraph blurb that's auto generated.
But it's well known that from a writing standpoint, when I'm coming up with Delta Green characters, I take a Myers-Briggs test in character as them. So I can write down all of their like alignments and really play them effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but unfortunately, that means there's only 16 possible characters.
No, they're all INTJ masterminds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm more of a big 5 kind of guy.
We just sort them all into the Harry Potter houses. That'll really tell you who you are.
There we go. Yeah.
Which Harry Potter house are you, Jack?
Ooh.
The French one.
You go to Beauxbatons? Isn't that an all-girl school?
Yeah. What do you do if you're in France and you're not a woman?
Good question. You go to Durmstrang, I guess? I don't know.
I don't know.
Or
I think Durmstrang got invaded by the Wagner group.
Yeah. Dude, how fast a turnaround was that? Huh? I got whiplash reading those articles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but didn't they say that they're moving to
the leader? The leader is moving to Belarus.
Yeah. He's like, I'm done. He's fucked though now, right? Like
right, he is definitely going to get shot with a dart from an umbrella.
Yeah, there's no way this ends well for him.
Yeah. Poison, that's an option.
Some like insane GRU assassination attempt is forthcoming.
Can that be our next campaign? Is a little
yes. You guys will be Putin's agents. Yes.
GRU operatives.
GRU operatives.
Yo, how pumped are you for Metal Gear Solid Delta?
Is David Hayter doing the voice again?
I heard that he wasn't re-recording new lines. I think they're using the old lines.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to support Konami Metal Gear Solid stuff now that they kicked out Kojima.
Yeah,
it seems wrong to me from an artistic standpoint.
Up to these days? What's the next thing on Kojima's plate?
Death Stranding 2, no doubt.
Man, I hope so.
Actually, he's collabing with me on a mini sub game.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
You, Miyazaki, and Kojima are all teaming up.
Well, it's I think what we're going to do is it's like a Blue Planet style documentary. You're filming a documentary, maybe with some AI generated like narration, but periodically while you're filming it, your submersible experiences some kind of casualty.
Yeah.
And then it's a puzzle game, and you have to fix it or you die. And if you want to observe cooler, deeper aquatic life, the casualties get more and more terrifying.
Okay, interesting.
There is actually a Death Stranding 2 coming out.
Okay, there you go.
He also has a podcast called Hideo Kojima Presents Brain Structure. The podcast, hosted by Kojima with regular appearances from Jeff Keighley, focuses on Kojima's history with game development as well as his interests in books, music, and cinema.
Does Kojima speak English?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I mean, the dude's a visionary.
Yeah. I'm still salty about PT.
Oh, yeah?
That whole situation was so stupid. Mm-hmm. What a great demo.
Porcupine Tree?
Porcupine Tree, yeah. No, for anybody who's unaware, there was a...
It was like 10 years ago, by the way.
This is a long time ago. Yeah, I think it was on it was PS4, right? Mm-hmm. There was a trailer that was released, and it was just called PT, which I think later came out that was just playable trailer was what it was. And it was for a horror game that was essentially going to be a Silent Hill game. And it was a lot of horror games now are very clearly heavily influenced by this. It was an amazing trailer. It was genuinely scary and just extremely well done. And everybody was very excited about it because it was just so well executed, and it seemed like the horror genre, video game horror, had kind of been on the downturn, but then this was like, oh, we're back. And then Konami was like, everybody loves this, so we're gonna just completely axe it. We're gonna pull it from, like, you can't download the trailer anymore. You can't, you can go on eBay right now and look up PS4s that have that trailer installed, and it's like real money that people are willing to spend for this stuff. It was just such a good idea, and they killed it for no reason.
Yeah, and that was long before Kojima split from Konami.
Yeah, I think that was kind of when it was starting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it was supposed to be like it was Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, I think.
Yeah.
Were like working together on this concept. But then, like, basically, you said it inspired a lot of stuff, like the Resident Evil games, like starting with Resident Evil 6, I think. Resident Evil 7. Like, Resident Evil 7 is like a child of PT, essentially. Or that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, I would agree.
I've been meaning to play Death Stranding for years. I heard it was really weird. And, like, I mean, the Metal Gear Solid games are weird, but at least the gameplay is, like, makes sense. I heard that Death Stranding is just, like, a lot more insane. But Kojima is like the... to me, he's like the Tarantino of games, where if there's something I don't get, I assume that, like, it's my fault, because he's like a real artist, and if I'm not getting it, that's on me. Tarantino might not be the best example, but I mean to say that I give him the benefit of the doubt. I assume I'm wrong if I don't get it. But who's excited for Armored Core 6?
Oh, dude, I can't wait.
What is Armored Core?
Yeah, what is that?
So,
and after this, we're wrapping this shit up. We're getting to the session, so you finish all your nerd bullshit, and then we're moving on.
Okay, so Armored Core is this series of mech games, like, a big mech with, like, guns on it and stuff, that From Software made. They started making them way back during the PS1 era, and they haven't really made one in, like, 10 years or so, because since then, the Souls games... starting with Demon Souls, really took off, and so they just haven't been making Armored Core since, because that has been, like, From Software's big thing is Souls and Souls-like games. But last year, they announced that they're finally making an Armored Core 6, and the Armored Core games have been directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki, who's the guy behind the Souls games, since Armored Core 4. They just haven't made a new one in a long time. So, later this year, like in November or something, or I don't remember when, but sometime later this year, Armored Core 6 is coming out, and I don't think any of us have actually played any Armored Core games.
I played Mech Warrior, which looks like it was similar, but I've not actually played an actual Armored Core.
Yeah. So, we're the three, Duncan, Jack, and I are going to get Armored Core because we're big Souls boys. And
Miyazaki actually is not directing this game.
I mean, he's involved somehow. I'm sure.
Yeah, he looks like he was
he's probably
originally
like the executive
directing
producer,
it, and then he stepped aside to let the lead game designer from Sekiro step into the. Let's see.
Wasn't the lead game designer for Sekiro the same one as Dark Souls 2?
I don't know. No, it looks like this is his first. I don't know. Who knows?
Armored Core coming out in August.
There you go.
August 25th.
But yeah, like Miyazaki's involved. He is
I'm
the
sure
From Software guy.
Based on the videos that I've seen, it looks pretty fun.
Yeah, and then also sometime the Elden Ring DLC is supposed to come out later this year as well.
Oh, yeah. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah.
The new Final Fantasy is pretty good.
I didn't play it. I've only ever played like one Final Fantasy game and only part of it, but it looks cool. I might get it.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about after this, we really can't end the the table talk. But the nice thing about Final Fantasy is that they're standalone. Like, this is Final Fantasy 16. You do not need to play the other games.
But this is the last one, right? It's the Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it is the Final Fantasy, of course. Yes.
Okay, I'm just checking. All right, nerd talk complete. Now let's get gaming.
My sports team is meeting up soon, so I gotta go meet them.